Hi, I am Caren Scheepers. I'm going to do a presentation here at USB Ed on coaching leaders, the 7 P tools to propel change. An edited version of my presentation will follow. If we look at what the 7 Ps provide, okay, there are 322 pages for you for self-help, if that's what you want to do. There are 50 figures, but for those of you that are very much more experiential and would like to do things and practical stuff, I created for you worksheets. Those worksheets you can use in your self-reflection as you are coaching yourself, but you can also use them with your coachees. But there also are 360 type leadership assessments for each of these 7 tools. And then I also think, especially towards the back, you will see a whole evaluation process of larger scale coaching interventions, rather than isolated coaching that happens for derailing executives. If it can rather be a more larger scale coordinated effort, we get a lot more done in terms of leadership development. So convenience, but also choice and combinations. So those are the 3 points that I would like to make with this presentation. For me, this is actually a coach in paper, or when it's an ebook, electronic form. So what do we want to achieve? It's about empowerment. Empower leaders to coach those that could coach others. We need to reach exponential growth in accessible coaching. You know that I'm a counseling psychologist, and I often criticize psychologists for this mystique about our work and the hypnosis and stuff that we do that's not accessible to other people to do with others. Right in front of the book, you need to decide who are the 2 people you're going to coach. Because for me, we need to go big. Therefore, just coaching one other person will not do it for us. We need one person to coach 2 others, and those 2 to coach 2 others. And that's the exponential growth. What are the 7 Ps then? So the first one there, purpose coaching. So if you ask yourself, this purpose coaching, what is the objective? The very first point is objective. So what's the objective? The first of the 7 P tools, purpose coaching, facilitates, remember it's about facilitation, leaders in clarifying purposes. What is the outcome that we hope for here? Purpose coaching results in inspirational leadership. Won't it be an amazing place if our organizations could actually have leaders that are inspirational? Wow. The leader builds commitment and engagement of others through alignment of his purpose and that of others to the organizational purpose. So in the coaching session, it is about getting that leader to realize, I need to write that organizational purpose in a way that people understand it, first of all, and can relate to it, and can identify with it, and can feel part of it, that they belong. And then there's a rationale. Great leaders have great faith in their own personal reasons for coming to work each day and doing the best they can. So do you have a great reason for coming to work? And then there are steps. So a cycle. So for purpose coaching, what is step 1? What is step 1? Ascertaining current purposes. Then challenging existing paradigms. Exploring sense of purpose, obviously, and then formulating a purpose, and then lastly, considering the implications. More often than not, we have purposes that only involves the career of the individual, and not also looking at what about the work-life balance here? And we don't have holistic type purposes. So this worksheet, challenging existing paradigms, the first one, and that's the challenge I also give to you. Are you sacrificing your dreams on the altar of accepted wisdom? Okay, so these are the type of questions that you can consider in terms of purpose coaching. So progress coaching then is to be now more down to earth. Okay, so you have the purpose out there, but how are we going to get there? What are the milestones that we need to work towards? And how are we going to measure it? So therefore, there's also process coaching. And then also like process psychology, that's where it originated from, process psychology. And the patterns, so what triggers you, what is your typical emotional response because of that trigger? Because of that trigger and your emotional response, what is your behavior? And then how would others respond to that? And because of their response, it becomes a trigger again, and there you have the cycle. So those type of cycles you will find under process coaching. But we need to balance that with a focus on the relationship, and therefore process coaching will provide you those type of tools. And a relationship that on the one hand is nurturing, but on the other hand is challenging, so that we can get growth from this relationship. And then perspective coaching, it's one of my favorites, because the work-life balance type stuff that I often find as issues in coaching, you will find in perspective coaching. And the timeline, sir, you can also go and do there if you want. So for those of you more on the theoretical side, if you think of process coaching, there's a lot of NLP, neuro-linguistic programming type tools under process coaching. And perspective coaching, for those of you that like the narrative type of therapy and coaching type things, you will find that under perspective coaching, the life story and the analysis of that. The polarity coaching, I think, is something that is also original and new for the coaching space. It is more from the process psychology type work or cross-cultural type work, but we often find when we do like diversity training in organizations, that there's a great need for looking at the polarities. A polarity, for example, is just two opposite poles. So it's like being and doing as two opposite poles, or the individual versus the collective here. So for those of you that are working more on cognitive levels or stratified system theory in organizations, the polarity coaching is for managing paradoxes. And then the political coaching. Yeah, I find often in coaching type sessions that the leaders will be despondent about the politics in organizations. The political coaching involves not to play politics. However, it's not being played. That's what it's about, not being played. Also the virtual type networking, the social media, political coaching will involve that. And then the potential coaching. Very important for organizations, that it's about leadership coaching and not just leaders coaching. So the summary then of those 7 Ps. Purpose coaching is for inspirational leaders, or to support leaders to be inspirational. Progress coaching, to be goal-directed. Process coaching, self-regulated leaders. So it's the self-awareness or the emotional intelligence type stuff. But that's not enough. We need to be self-regulated, not just self-aware. And perspective coaching, like I mentioned, to get objective leaders. So when they look at change in the organization, that they will realize what their vested interest is and be able to park that to be objective. And then polarity coaching, to be able to manage diversity. But the one aspect that we really need to still look at, and that we find all over the country, not just in Gauteng, in terms of the homosexuality, there's still a lot of work we need to do in terms of polarities and our perceptions around that. And then potential coaching, like I said, to get more to create a culture of leadership development. And coaching can be an enabler. And then political coaching, are we well positioned in this organization? Do we also check the up and downstream processes that we are part of? The customer at the end of the day, do we have the contact there? And then the potential coaching. Are we developing our leaders in this team that we have bench strength for the future? So also cross-functional teams, that's something I'm very passionate about, cross-functional teams. And we need to do so much more of that we have cross-functional coaching so that we can counter the silo mentality we have in organizations. I've been privileged to work in a few organizations actually where they have implemented the OIM type strategy, and they call it InvoComms. And what we've experienced in the first year was that the leaders were very focused on their personal growth. How do we survive the pressure of building this power station on this site where we are 3 organizations that have a JV that we need to work together? But then the following year we noticed that they have grown as individuals, but they were now looking much more at the cross-functional teams and their own teams and their subordinates. And then in the last year, it was much more about the organization actually, and developing the culture in the organization. So I do realize that these things take time, and even over a 3-year period, but we could see the development, the leadership development that happened there. And it was on the individual level, but it was also the team and department level, and then organizational system. The first 4 tools, in terms of the 7 Ps, are for that individual personal growth of the leader. I am concerned about the coaching in our country, not only here, but also when I talk to my colleagues in Brussels and Europe and in the US, that coaching is so much about personal development, personal mastery. Whereas I think the true value of coaching is not that. It's great, but it needs to be more than that. And it needs to be more team and organizational type coaching as well. For those of you that are very visual, so there's a picture of the 7 Ps. Like I said, the first 4 about the individual system, but as you go broader and the bigger picture, there's the polarities in terms of the team, political, and then the potential in the on the organizational level. But like I said, organizations are hungry for leadership, that it's about creating commitment through inspirational leadership that makes the true difference in organizations. And that is also why this one is in the middle, and purpose coaching is the first one. When you do inspiration, you need to balance it with goal-directedness. But goal-directedness also needs to be balanced by inspiration. And then self-regulation, if it's about self-awareness of the leader, but it's too much about the self-regulation, and then it stops there without looking again at, okay, but now what? What are the change in organizations? Do we have people that are objective about it? Do we have diversity management? Do we have political acumen here? And is this leader cultivating a culture? Or are we only looking at the personal mastery of the individual? So the true value of coaching, not for derailing executives, merely personal mastery or therapy. But I'm not throwing the baby away with the bathwater here. We need to look at derailing executives, absolutely. We need alignment with business strategy. We need coaching, leadership coaching for the development of talent. Therefore, we need the balance then between individual and organizational focus. Therefore, the 7 Ps are divided into the 4, that's personal mastery, but then the other 3 is about the organizational and team focus. To my mind, and I dedicate my career to leadership coaching. It's a worthwhile cause. I am humbled to contribute. To me, it's like entering into a global conversation. That's why we need to write that book, Silo. We're entering into a global conversation on leadership development. To me, it's amazing. You know, I don't know how the word gets out or how people get access. It's just amazing the way the grapevine is growing. But I'm humbled to be part of that global conversation on leadership development through having written the book.